Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Osman. Hurricane Irma left the area nearly 2 weeks ago, but the effects are still visible throughout the county. In this week's episode, we get county damage assessments as well as information on how to deal with your storm debris. Later on in the program, Joanne Magley sits down with Adrian Leneve from the Small Business Administration and Peter Sessom with FEMA. Those segments and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. I hope you stay tuned. Hurricane Irma caused widespread damage across Volusia County. Staff from the county's property appraiser's office was soon out after the storm passed to begin the damage assessment process. Initial reports show the west side of the county suffered from wind damage, while the east side of the county suffered a lot of flooding damage.
The estimates, and they're preliminary, but we're close to the end, we hope. But they appear to be $340 million and change. And this map behind me indicates where the damage was in the land. So you can see that the land suffered from this storm. It's one of the things we do in the office. We have the map technology that gives us the ability to hone in on certain areas that have received the most damage. Once we know where the damage is, and we learn that from various sources, people can call in and let us know where there's damage, or our damage assessment teams can just drive the area and find out where things are hit hardest, maybe by local residents. Then they go out there and assess the damage, and again, affected, minor, major, or destroyed.
Individual assistance from FEMA is available for Volusia County residents who sustained damage from Hurricane Irma to their primary residence and have losses not covered by insurance or are underinsured. And coming up later in the program, Community Information Director Joanne Magley will talk with representatives from FEMA and the Small Business Administration regarding assistance.
Hi, I'm Joanne Magley with Volusia County Community Information with your hurricane update. As Volusia County residents recover from the hurricane, property owners are cleaning up, repairing, and rebuilding their homes. Be extra careful when hiring unknown contractors, and be especially alert for solicitors who ask for large cash deposits or advance payments in full. It's always best to hire licensed contractors. If a contractor is not licensed, you could be sued if he or she is injured on the job, and most insurance policies will not pay a claim if the homeowner has contracted with an unlicensed person. A handyman is not a licensed contractor and cannot obtain building permits. If you want to find out if an individual is properly licensed, call Volusia County Contractor Licensing at 386-736-5957 and click Option 2.
As Hurricane Irma blew through the county last week, she left quite a mess in her wake, including vegetative and construction debris. Many residents spent the days after the storm cleaning up large limbs, cutting up downed trees, and raking lawns covered with leaves. Many are still cleaning up. Now the job of removing all of that debris begins. Residents are asked to place storm debris in the public right-of-way, which is the area of residential property that extends from the street to the sidewalk, ditch, utility pole, or easement. Debris should not be placed in the road as it obstructs traffic, hinders cleanup and power restoration efforts, and makes it difficult for emergency vehicles to pass. Haulers will not pick up storm debris that is mixed with normal household garbage. Residents should sort debris into separate piles for vegetative debris, construction debris including wooden fences, and household goods. Do not place vegetative debris in yard bags.
We just ask you residents to keep them all well separated out there at the edge of the roadway, and then keep your normal garbage collection separate from all of that. Right. I know it's a lot of separation, but it really helps expedite the process. The county maintains over 1,000 miles of roads. Most of them have been impacted. It's a huge effort to clean this up. Our road and bridge crews will be augmenting a contractor that comes in to help us. We're going to ask residents to be patient. It's going to take a little while. Debris contractors are strained with the Hurricane Harvey response in Texas and then the statewide impacts from Irma. So the good news is we received the federal declaration from FEMA for debris removal, and the federal government picks up 75% of that, and the state and the county will split the last 25%, or 12.5 apiece.
If you have a small amount of yard debris, normal collection rules will apply. If you are performing the cleanup yourself or using volunteers, you may place the debris curbside away from fire hydrants, power lines, and mailboxes. Do not block drainage ditches or inlets. Residents who hire a contractor to handle large tree debris or household damage should confirm the contractor knows that they are required by law to dispose of debris properly. They cannot place it in the right-of-way. Residents may not burn storm-related debris in residential areas as it can cause smoke hazards for many who live nearby. Volusia County will collect debris on county-maintained roads in unincorporated areas and certain arterial collector roads that will run through the cities. Unincorporated areas are outside city limits. Residents living on a county-maintained road with specific debris concerns can call the county's debris hotline at 386-507-5166. The hotline will be staffed from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Residents who live within the city limits should visit volusia.org/PIN for debris information from their respective city.
Hi, I'm Joanne Magley with Volusia County Community Information with your hurricane update. After a storm, use precaution when returning to a flooded home. You want to make sure there is no structural damage and the building is not in danger of collapsing. Be alert for holes in the floor, loose boards, loose plaster, even wildlife like snakes. Evacuate immediately if you see a broken gas line or smell natural gas, which has the odor of rotten eggs. Don't light a match and do not activate any electrical switches or appliances until the entire electrical system has been checked. For more preparedness and safety information, visit volusia.org/emergency.
While enjoying the outdoors this season, follow these steps to take the bite out of summer. Cover doors and windows with screens. Limit outdoor activities at dusk and dawn when mosquitoes are most active. Drain standing water from flower pots, garbage cans, or where water collects. Cover skin with clothing and repellent. Replace water in bird baths. Remember to drain and cover. For information on how to fight the bite, visit floridahealth.gov or your local county health department. A message from the Florida Department of Health.
Hurricane Irma's impact can be seen not only on land, but in the local waterways as well. The storm created large amounts of debris that is now floating and at risk of damaging boats, homes, and other structures. To minimize the potential for damage, the Department of Environmental Protection is asking residents to report waterway debris and abandoned vessels.
So one of the impacts from Hurricane Irma was the significant tidal increase that we received in the intercoastal waterway, along with the flooding in the St. Johns River and water bodies in the western portion of the county. The result of this was there were damage to docks, there were a lot of vegetation that was deposited in the waterways. What this can do is it can cause obstructions to our boating community. What a lot of people don't know is that these water bodies are owned and managed by the state. They're state lands. The state has contractors available. They are ready and waiting for us to provide them notification of where we have debris, but we need assistance from our residents in helping the state identify where to send their resources. You want to focus your two categories in either waterway debris or vessels. This works anywhere in the state. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend. They won't remove it unless they know it's there, and the only way they know it's there is if you report it.
Residents can go online to maps.floridadisaster.org/debris to report the waterway debris. A report from the data submitted will be used to mobilize DEP resources for debris removal response. When Hurricane Irma pounded Volusia County's beaches on September 10th and 11th, it not only eroded beaches and damaged walkovers, it also whisked away the area's most vulnerable residents. Countless baby sea turtles trying to make their way out to the ocean.
We lost some, around 150, but we still have about 80 nests on the beach right now. And even some of those were laid since the storm passed. So we're still, monitoring those nests. We're still in our nesting season and hopeful that these last remaining nests will be successful.
Many died, but concerned citizens managed to rescue nearly 900 hatchlings and washbacks, which were brought to the Marine Science Center in Ponce Inlet. Most of the tiny turtles were loggerheads and greens, with a handful of leatherbacks.
With these hurricane storm conditions, the waves are so rough that they really can't make it out on their own, and we've experienced, many days of rough surf conditions. So we are going to help give them a head start.
The reptile refugees were treated, fed, and given a second chance at life in the center's turtle rehabilitation pools. According to Melissa Ranley, turtle rehabilitation manager at the Marine Science Center, the baby turtles took a beating in the heavy surf, but most of them were in decent shape when they arrived at the turtle hospital.
Just sent out over 850 hatchlings and washbacks today down south to get offshore back out to the Gulf Stream, to the weed line, where they need to go to be safe and have food source and camouflage out there. So with any impending storms potentially coming, we're expecting to see some seaweed washing up on the beaches and potentially a good amount of more washbacks coming in.
The washbacks and hatchlings were brought to the Gumbo Limbo Nature Center in Boca Raton, where they took a boat trip to the Gulf Stream and were released into the Sargassum weed line. With continued storm activity in the Atlantic Ocean, beachgoers may find more turtles in danger. What should you do if you find a sea turtle hatchling? If the hatchlings are headed toward the ocean, let them enter the surf. If you see a sick or injured turtle, do not attempt to put it back into the water or capture it. Contact the nearest beach safety officer or call 888-404-FWCC.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Let's go now to Community Information Director Joanne Magley and her guests, Adrienne Leneve from the Small Business Administration and Peter Sessom with FEMA.
Thanks, Amber. Well, Volusia County residents are now in the disaster recovery process, and part of that process is individual assistance, and this is through FEMA and the Small Business Administration. So with us today in the studio is Peter Sessom, the External Affairs Specialist with FEMA, and Adrienne Leneve, Public Affairs Specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Welcome, Peter and Adrienne.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. So let's start with you, Peter. Talk about FEMA individual assistance. What does it cover?
It really covers, our FEMA individual assistance covers the immediate damage that people have occurred from Hurricane Irma. So they have to go to disasterassistance.gov, or they can call the 1-800 number, 1-800-621-FEMA. That's 1-800-621-3362, as well as they can download the FEMA app and register there. But we're really the short-term recovery, and then we have our partners as part of a whole community effect of having our partners with like SBA and other government agencies and the cities and counties to really help people get back to a new normal. We also have transitional sheltering assistance, where people can, for people who are not living in a place that is safe, sanitary, and functional, and also rental assistance, so they can be somewhere else, so where they can be safe and sanitary. And there are critical needs assessments and our critical needs assistance, and that assistance is available, but they have to self-identify when they apply online.
Okay, so people who might have home repairs, people who might need help paying their rent, personal property damages, all these things are things that FEMA can help pay for if you get approved through the FEMA process.
Everybody's individual, and we treat everyone as an individual. We can see what you're eligible for. So you first have to, if you have insurance, you first have to process that, and then we'll see what unmet needs that FEMA can help with.
So Adrian, the SBA works closely with FEMA. First of all, talk about how your relationship works.
Well, we are federal partners with FEMA, so don't let the name fool you. I know it says Small Business Administration, but we are here for homeowners, renters, businesses, and non-for-profits. So when an individual, a homeowner or renter, first registers with FEMA, as Peter said, safe, secure, and functional, that's their first priority, and they're going to get them in that situation. Then they're going to go ahead and get referred to the SBA for that long-term recovery through our low-interest disaster loans. Now, these are loans, unlike FEMA grants do not have to be paid back, loans do. But what we're talking about is for homeowners, it's that long-term repair to be able to bring their home back to that pre-disaster condition. And we do this through low-interest loans. We're talking up to $200,000 for homeowners with an interest rate which can be as low as 1.75% for terms up to 30 years. So we are looking at no payments for the first 6 months, no fees or anything like that. It's really to get that cash in hand to be able to assist. Now, one of the big differences between us is that, well, FEMA, when you first apply to your insurance company, FEMA will have to wait to see what you have, available, because they can't duplicate benefits. We also cannot duplicate benefits, but what we can do is go ahead and advance you that funds to be able to go assist and start your recovery now, when you're still maybe working with your insurance company to get the documentation and do the settlement. You can still start your recovery now. But it all starts, number one, contact your insurance company. Number two, register with FEMA. And number three, you want to complete and submit that SBA loan application. And you can do that online at sba.gov/disaster.
So are there any limitations to what the loans could be used for?
Not really. I mean, it's really, the money can be used for anything that's disaster storm related. So if you had damage to your home, you had some personal property that was damaged, your vehicles that were damaged, we might be able to assist with all of that. In addition, if you have to elevate your home later, that may be something that we can assist you with as well. So it's disaster related damage, then repair, and that again, it can be something that maybe you do have insurance but you're waiting for it and that's still got to work through the paperwork. We're going to go ahead and advance that for you. So any of that kind of stuff can be taken care of. So even property damage, seawalls, damage to the property and the landscaping, fences have been another thing. Trees have been falling down all over the place. Guess what? We can actually go ahead and assist with that.
So just so that the audience that's out there watching understands, first, people have to register. Well, first, again, check with your insurance company and see what's covered, and then register with FEMA.
Yes.
So if by chance they're denied FEMA assistance, that's where SBA then comes into play.
It's not even on the denial then. It's actually a partnership. So they're going to go ahead and give you something and work in their world and see what they can assist with, and then we're going to jump in as well. So when a person actually fully recovers, they've pretty much done some with a little bit of insurance, a little bit of FEMA, a little bit of SBA, and a little bit of sweat equity, because let's be honest, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So they're going to go ahead and get all of this material together, and that's how they're going to recover. But for right now, in this moment in time, their biggest focus right now needs to be filing with their insurance, their second phone call to FEMA. The third is to complete that SBA loan application, because you're gathering tools for your recovery. And so we want to make sure that everything that you're eligible for, you have available.
So what happens if homeowners or renters are denied an SBA loan? What's the next step after that?
Well, two things. One, if you choose not to complete an SBA loan, you are essentially choosing not to request any more federal assistance. So it's absolutely critical you fill out that application. Even if you don't want a loan, if we offer you one, you don't have to take it, and there's no harm doing it. But if our program's not a good fit for you, and that happens, and that's okay, it's through us you get back to FEMA for possible additional grant consideration, and Peter will talk about that.
That would be the other needs assistance program. But when people get here that they're ineligible for FEMA assistance, we really tell people to read that letter closely. If you get that ineligibility letter, it could be as simple as you need more documentation, you know, and then we'll see what you are eligible for. And we encourage people to appeal that and have all that documentation, all that information. Really the process is when you start and apply for FEMA benefits, and then as soon as it's safe to do so, take pictures. Take a lot of pictures, which you could use for your insurance as well as FEMA, and start the recovery process. You don't have to wait for an inspection before you can start that recovery process.
Okay, let's now talk about disaster recovery centers. These are actual physical locations that folks can go to register for FEMA assistance and SBA assistance and really get all questions answered by people face-to-face.
So a disaster recovery center is really a one-stop shop for all disaster-related information. So we are collating with SBA. People will be able to go and register for FEMA benefits. They'll also be able to, if they have any questions or have a question about their ineligibility, we have people there that can help them with their appeal process, as well as people who have either functional or language needs that they can go and be able to communicate. There's also some counseling as well as legal services. So it really is a one-stop shop for everything disaster related to help you on that road to recovery.
And you mentioned earlier the process for registering for FEMA, and people can call and people can go online. And during the gap, I guess, between now and when a disaster recovery center opens, we want to also remind people that our public libraries are a great resource for folks who, you know, some people might still be without power, or maybe they don't have access to personal computers. They can go to the public libraries and register for FEMA assistance, and many of the people that work at the libraries, they're actually able to walk them through that process as well.
Yeah, that's, again, the whole community approach. We want everybody's trying to make sure that nobody slips through the cracks. And that's why we also have disaster survivor assistance teams that are actually going out there door to door and registering people. Because some people, you know, they didn't have power, so they couldn't get online. And some people don't have transportation, they can't get into the library. So that's where we fill in those gaps by sending out those disaster survivor assistance teams to help those people register.
So when do those teams are they out?
They're out already. So what we do is the state and the counties communicate to find out where the shortfalls are, and then we partner with the state to make sure those commodities are and see what we can do to fill those unmet needs. So it's really about, you know, we trust our state, our county partners who've been doing a phenomenal job, because they are here in the disaster. They are experiencing themselves, and they are all at work putting their community first and doing a great job. And so we really trust them because they're obviously local and know the area and will let us know where the unmet needs are. Where do these teams need to go?
One thing I'll mention is, as the disaster teams are coming out, you also have inspectors, FEMA inspectors, and for the SBA, when people register, they and complete their SBA loan applications, they'll be contacted by a loss verifier. Sometimes we can gather that information via the phone. Sometimes we need to come out and inspect the property. Every time, no matter who it is, whether it be FEMA or SBA, we will always have identification. And please remember, a business card does not qualify. Having a t-shirt on, that's great, but that doesn't qualify. You will see identification, and we will provide that. Keep in mind, FEMA nor the SBA never ask for money, so that should be a clue and an indication. And if you ever have any question about people coming to your door asking you questions, please always contact your local authorities. They can vouch for us if we're legitimate. If not, hey, this is how you protect your community. But as Peter mentioned, we're going to be out in the community and those teams, and our loss verifiers will also be out inspecting and assisting people. But first things first, we need to know who you are. So start, register with FEMA, complete and submit that SBA loan application, and don't forget your insurance company if you got them.
And what you said is really important about verifying the identity. If you were to ask someone that comes out from representing FEMA or the SBA and ask you their ID, they'll have a vertical rectangular ID card, government ID card, they'll say FEMA, have a picture, and have one of those chips on it. They're going to actually almost expect you to ask. So no one's going to be offended if you do. If you do, that should be a red flag. And then you can call and verify, make sure sure that the teams are out in your areas. And like you said, FEMA does not charge for any of its services. So if somebody's asking for money or saying they can expedite a claim or an inspection or anything like that, and for a fee, that's not legit.
Right. So in our final couple of minutes here, what are some final thoughts as far as individual assistance, FEMA, SBA, that you just really want to get out there to the public?
I think one of the big things is that, there's no pool of money that you're pulling from. We've had a lot of people who have suffered damage who didn't want to because they saw that somebody else, or they saw in the news that somebody else had it worse. And they thought, oh, I don't want to take from them. And that's not the case. There's no pool of money you're pulling from, so whatever you're entitled to is what you're entitled to. And FEMA, we can't make you whole again, but we can get you started on the road to recovery and give you those short-time grants that then the whole community approach comes in, where SBA and our other partners will help get you to a new normal.
Yeah, and that, is critical. So we need you to reach out and let us know by registering with FEMA with the 800 number or disaster assistance website. Complete that SBA loan application. As you see a disaster recovery center, even if you don't live in that county, if you just happen to see the sign that says disaster recovery center, go on in. So please just go ahead and make sure you identify. We need to know you're out there, and we need to get you registered and get that help for you. And we need you to complete those steps. It's very simple. Contact your insurance company, contact and register with FEMA, and complete and submit that SBA loan application. That allows us to make sure we get you every single tool that we possibly can for this recovery. It's a long-term thing, so let's make sure you're taken care of.
All right, and we have all this information also on the county's webpage, which is volusia.org/PIN. That's Public Information Network. That's where we've been putting all the Hurricane Irma information. So our guest today, Peter Sessom, External Affairs Specialist with FEMA, and Adrian Laney, Public Affairs Specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Amber, back to you.
Thanks, Joanne, and thank you too for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, you can feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. And if you have any questions or concerns about storm recovery, we invite you to visit volusia.org/PIN, or you can call the Citizens Information Network at 866-345-0345. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Osman. Have a wonderful evening.